the Talia, it actually doesn't hit because you're stunned while you're traveling. You can't get the knock up, and then you're just essentially headbutting somebody to safety. So the nuance in these team fights is going to be exceedingly important. Crastiel now has a much more difficult time trying to engage through generic means, through the front line, let's say. It's going to have to get a bit more creative.
Yeah, I really like this additional layer of pressure that Liberty have put on and say, well, you can't just run at us, but now you've got to think of a creative way to get us into a fight, to back us into a corner. And with this hyper range that they've picked up, things like the Gnar and Sivir and Ashe and Talia that all specialize at whittling you down from a distance, it puts a timer on how long Vivo Kid can actually stall out finding that perfect flank.
So, through the early stages of this game, expecting the bot lane to have heavy push for Liberty, they've got double range. They're up against an Alistar who, at level 1 of the most useless champions you will ever find. So you're expecting to just see, pathing away if you are Vivo Keyed stars, or in this case, pathing down to try and help on a dive, it looks like. But with ACs as well, my main, not criticism, the opposite, in fact, my main praise for him has been that he's been the one finding plays, it feels like, for Liberty. If they're winning games, it's off the back of AC and their aggression. So I'm happy to see, if you start on this bot side, a potential level 3 gank. Head down here, see what happens.
Just walking straight into the bush, seeing what happens. Juliera and Cavallo fearing no cow. That was very fun for them, and they've got control of the minion wave, if not, like you say, of their own health bars.
No, I mean, I'm quite a fan of this, actually. Yes, they lost that trade, but they're able to win it out in the long run. Crastiel is useless if he doesn't have an ability. They face check the Alistar even to force the ability. So they managed to burn that tool, and now there's no way for Crastiel to ever really step up. The same to be said for Steps as well. And Cavallo actually spacing very well here. It might not be the biggest thing in the world, but auto spacing between this Ashe and Varus going to be exceedingly important. We've got a lethal tempo versus a hail of blades, so Steps is going to have a little more difficulty trying to get those autos out in quick succession through the early stages, where Cavallo, as we've already seen, is exhibiting some good spacing to get those attacks down and pressure Steps.
AC spotted on the way in, though. Vivo Kid do know that there is some threat over towards the bot side of the map, even with the blue buff being started right now. There's a chance for Vivo Kid to strike back in force.
I like this, though, from AC. This is that adaptation I mentioned, expecting him to move or sort of start on his top side to be on the bot side for this window where his lanes have pushed. Instead, starts on the bot side and just stays on the bot side by being able to cross-map into the enemy's jungle. Steals away a blue buff. It's not too important for a Viego. Doesn't need the mana in the early stages to clear out his camps, for example, but it's still more gold going into the Lee Sin's pocket that's not there for the Viego.
AC might even be able to pull off a 3 buff after this gank as well. Grevthar on the escape. We'll see what AC ends up doing. Just takes a minion. Tax.
That's what you get for pushing your lane and giving me cryo in the jungle. One of your creeps is mine. But you get to see already how difficult this mid lane matchup is going to be for Grevthar. There's an engaged bot. Ignite down.
Juliera going to be able to dodge that stun, but he waits it out. Crastiel gets the cow slap. Cavallo in their faces right now, and Steps forced to burn the heal on the disengage. Crastiel waiting for the combo to come back up, looking for Cavallo, flashes forward, bumps him back, and this should be a dead Cavallo. Nice flash, avoids some of the damage, and they're being picked apart on both sides, but Vivo Kid come out on top, and the cow, he comes up big.
Poke versus engage, as Taylor's oldest time down in this bot side. In order to win, you have to all in. Crastiel recognizes this, goes full throttle, and takes down Cavallo on that bot side. Not respecting the Q flash from the Alistar and gets caught out when those cooldowns do come back up. Steps holding his Q there for a long time in the initial engage. I thought they were going to lose out on the trade because he was spending so long not auto-attacking, just holding this piercing arrow. But it didn't matter. They had enough damage between the ignite and the early base damages of an Alistar to find the kill, take down the Ashe, and put a little bit of a target on their back.
Pretty clean fashion, unanswered in that bot side. Now, Juliera and Cavallo have returned. Hopefully, going to be able to stay safe down here. Noticing that Chiari burning teleport to get back to lane as well. So, Liberty now on the back foot in multiple places. Well, AC got an advantage early on and did quite well with that. I'm waiting for this Lee Sin to transition it into something more. Perhaps with everyone hitting the Rift again, after these fresh resets, there will be more time for something to kick off.
He is on vision, though. It makes it really difficult for AC to make any plays around the map. He's been spotted at every given juncture. The fact that they didn't find First Blood on Grell was because they knew the Lee Sin was walking into their jungle in this instance as well. They knew that he was going to be walking into the river. And yes, it's a 50-50 here. Both teams know exactly what either one is doing. But the fact that Steps and Krastiel find that First Blood means that they're able to dictate the lane for the next minute and a half or so, pushing their bot wave. They're not missing anything right
Watch
now.
Krastiel. Krastiel's on the flank. This is big. Out comes the Hex Flash, and up into the air goes AC. Instant disengage as the wall comes in, bringing Piloto into the fight. Krastiel melting on the front lines, still alive at about 100 HP, but Grifthar goes big with the barrel, splitting up the Liberty comp and winning this decisively for Vivo Keydstars.
The re-engage from Grethar is gorgeous. Double body slam flash into the barrel. Slams two people back in Piloto ACs. They've got nowhere to go. Don't respect it with their own flashes in time. They burn them afterwards. And again, a great re-engage from Vivo Keydstars. We're getting such good foreshadowing for the remainder of this game, dear. If Vivo Keydstars want to win, they have to all in. Their composition excels at going forward. And Liberty need to play at range. Sivir, Ashtalia, you highlighted it as we got into the game, are all champions that are going to be whittling you down, poking you out. At these early stages, they don't have the damage. They can't be going for these prolonged engagements because the cooldowns are still too long. The damage just isn't there. So Vivo Keydstars, they're ready. They're more than happy to get down and dirty right now, and it's exactly what they needed. They find 2 kills, they find the dragon, and they're setting themselves up to control the game.
Yeah, as for a composition that wants to keep this ball rolling, no better time to be able to pick up not just the first Drake, but a Mountain Drake on top of that. When you've got 2 big, heavy engagers that are going to be in your face, it's nice to give them that extra survivability, the chance to throw out even more abilities and keep Liberty honest in these team fights. Now, with Liberty being on the back foot right now, like we talked about, they're playing this heavy ranged composition. Objectives are going to be where they're disadvantaged because they're forced to come into the comp of Vivo Keyd. But how can they get an advantage back, Rude?
Honestly, it's with numbers, and it's with using those cooldowns in a prolonged laning phase. The issue is that they're always going to run into the potential of an engage. Grethvar has got body slam on a 6-7 second cooldown in that mid lane. For Krastiel as well, constantly hovering this fog of war, and you never know if it's just 1 or 2 people potentially lurking in this tri-brush. We can see Grell just off screen lurking, making sure that there's no overextension from the Liberty bot lane. It's a really difficult position for Liberty to find themselves in, and numbers advantage as well appears to be a great way to go. They've got Talia as well for ease of roaming in the mid lane. We've seen Gwen dives happen before. I'd like to see them wait for Mega on Chiari, but I think by that point their window may have elapsed. The timing on it might not be right. And now there's going to be a 3v3, it looks like, on this top side. Neither one of these mid lane is going to be foregoing anything to get there, but Piloto is the one who arrives first.
Taking a look at the bot lane, Steps and Krastiel are also walking their way up. Liberty is going to be split on this, and the Rift Herald's taking quite a long time already. Vivo Keyd waiting on the engage. Guigo on the flank. Such an annoying top laner to play against. Guigo is so good at just making sure that he is constantly a thorn in your side, and he does it just enough there to push Liberty right off the Rift Herald. Give Vivo Keyd the chance to group up, now with Krastiel, and take this Rift Herald once and for all. We've got Cavallo up here as well, so this could still turn into a fight. We go waiting, about half health. Lowest health bar in this engagement so far. Greftarm is the body slam, gets the barrel, but Liberty are on the flank. They've split you up. AC gets isolated and destroyed. Piloto, running for his life, is going to be shut down, and we get another 2 kills going over to the Vivo Keydstars.
And just great collapsing. Their space between the Vivo Keydstars is as minimal as possible. 4 melee members, all in a unit. You could not separate them from the range of a Caitlyn auto attack right there. They were all so clumped up that they could go together. Liberty just didn't have that. They weren't able to use their compositional advantage of the Talia Unraveled Earth because, well, guess what? Piloto wasn't there at the right time. And in case that wasn't bad enough for Liberty, Steps didn't come to this fight because he just ran bot lane and burned flash plus ulti in response of the Sivir. But we get to take another look at this topside fight once again, and look what I mean. Vivo Keydstars as far as 4 people, all so tightly compact, there's not really a way for the Liberty squad to fight together. And then as soon as the 2v2s, or the 2 members on either side get picked apart, it never really looks any better. So Liberty need to find a better way to try and take these engagements. Either sit back and poke, not get engaged on, or recognize that if they're engaging, it's going to have to be as a unit, but then you're doing it with a disadvantage.
What Vivo Keystars have going on right now is what high-level League of Legends analysts will refer to as a death ball. They just they group up and they say,
for reference,
you don't win. Go ahead.
For reference, it's what low-level League of Legends analysts will call Bronzodia.
This is just no way of being able to really compete as long as they're on top of you and as long as they're together, and they're looking to do that again. Crastiel harassing in this bot side. The knockup lands, and there's just no hope left for Juliera.
You get to see right there, Sivir doesn't beat Alistair. Crastiel walks in, there's a spell shield right there. Grethbot, double flash.
I can't believe he just got that. He throws out the barrel. He's taken barely 300 damage for that and just walks away into what is going to be first brick now for Vivo Keystars and a winning game so far. In the top lane, Kiari burns the Meganar to disengage. Things are not looking good if you are a Liberty fan.
This is just a small thing, but shout out Crastiel. They're blocking the volley, making sure that Grell can get back to base. Leaving the base now with a Kraken Slayer means that any fights around this dragon are going to go Vivo Keystars' way. In case that wasn't exemplified enough by the fact that they've got 6 kills, Liberty have got 0. There has been literally nothing positive for Liberty this entire game. The best thing we can say right now is, well, I guess Piloto got a little bit of free time in that mid lane, but he didn't even get a plate. Like, not even one. The easiest plate to get is still going begging. And there's nothing that Liberty have been able to capitalize on. Vivo Keystars are so far so very good. And they're going to need to stay like this because their composition as it gets later on is going to get a little harder to execute. We've talked about these grouped up skirmishes that are going their way right now, but later on when we're seeing more setup around objectives, expect Liberty to have that advantage. That advantage, of course, being when they'd go in on even footing and not when they're going in 4k gold down.
AC and Kiari do also have really good interrupt tools, and that's something that we can look for later. I'd include Piloto in that, so a lot of ways to stop the dashes that you talked about earlier will mean loads to Liberty once they're confident enough to group up, once they've got that gold on their multiple ranged combatants. Right now, they're going for a dive onto the Gwen. Is the setup there? We're about to find out. In comes the wall. Grell and Crastiel are here, so somebody is set up. AC takes the last tower shot, goes down outside of the tower, and Grefthar comes in for the cleanup. Liberty, well, they're liberated from something.
Yeah, I think it's this game of League of Legends, dear. I'm smelling a 15 here. This is one of those where in a solo queue experience you go, huh, hope I don't get these guys next lobby. But yeah. Liberty, of course, they've had a rough time of things, and in fairness, they have been going as a team to these plays that just aren't working out. I think that I like that effort on that top side, though. They head into that play recognizing they have to do something to try and get themselves back into it. Unfortunately, it's just well read by Vivo Keystars. They managed to find 4 kills on that top side. They take a Herald. They can use this time now to path their way back down to the bot side, secure themselves this dragon as well. There wasn't a Herald, completely lied, it's a fabrication. But they can get this Drake, an objective still to be slain, and AC is just getting bullied off of every single jungle camp.
Credit to the way that Grell has been playing this out as well. You'll see a lot of junglers, not really be able to take control of the team, pull people like Crastiel up into engagements, but we talked about this a little bit before the games, and Grell has really been the driving force for Vivo Keystars. Where he goes, the others follow, and that's been really exemplified here as perfect reads from Grell, because he's getting himself and Crastiel into good positions on time, really exemplified in that counter gank.
100% kill participation for Crastiel. So glad that you bring him up because, yes, Grell's in the right positions, but Crastiel's also making these aggressive plays independently of Grell as well. It's not to take away from the LLA jungler. He's doing a great job, having been bought into this Vivo Keystars roster, who was that were certainly struggling since his return, or since his start, I suppose, in the CBLOL, has been a very potent force. But Crastiel, like you can see right now, 109, almost a perfect support KD. You've got that kill, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you're doing very good work elsewise. And obviously making those proactive plays, not just around the map with Grell, but with the 2 versus 2 advantage as well. That first blood, of course, being the first start off and the catalyst for Vivo Keystars to find this 6,000 gold lead so early on.
Now, Rude, I'm under the distinct impression that you and I would agree if I were to say that Vivo Keystars were in a winning position right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're crushing it. It's also worth bringing up that they were in a winning position yesterday.
This is exactly true.
Weren't quite able to close it out. The other big part of the test for this roster isn't just whether they're able to have great mid games, because clearly they're able to do it, even against some of the best teams in CBLOL. But closing out the game has been their weak point, and against a roster that is currently in 8th place, Liberty are not looking too hot. If Vivo Keyed can't take this lead and close it out against Liberty, they have got no hope of making the playoffs.
It's certainly a worrying trend if they can't find a win here, having been in this position like you mentioned, literally just yesterday. And it's not like it's going to be the easiest road for Vivo Keystars. It's not like they've got super scaling that's already super far ahead of the curve. Their composition is going to, like we've mentioned time and time again, get a bit more tricky to execute. But the hope here for Vivo Keystars is that the gold lead that they've got offsets that difficulty by enough to keep them much further ahead of the curve than Liberty would like. I'm looking at Steps in particular here. He's got this attack speed Varus, which I think is going to be very difficult to try and pilot in the late game. He's only really going to be able to attack Chiari with any meaningful damage as Tempted Arrow goes mid lane. That's what we say. Okay.
Yeah. Not quite able to land the engage. It would have been cool. I don't know if Liberty would have actually chosen to fight there, but it would have been style points. Instead, they lose just the one tower, able to hang on to mid lane for now. Yeah. It's a slow game of losing pressure for Liberty, but as you talked about, the scaling is still technically on their side. The big concern for me being that with Dragon coming up in 2 minutes, it's an infernal rift that we've got. The first 2 dragons already belong to Vivo Keyed, and that means that in relatively a short amount of time, they should be able to pick up one of the more powerful fighting souls of the game.
Ooh, I love the distinction. I'd bite your head off if I thought for a second that you were going to slander my precious Cloud Drake. So thank you for that. You're quite right, though. And with the composition that Vivo Keystars have, it is 4 damage dealers and a tank. Can't complain when you've got an Infernal Soul backing you up with that. Worth mentioning as well on that same breath that Crastiel has gone for the Even Shroud. So again, if you're unfamiliar with what that does, anybody who gets CC'd, it gives damage amplification to the first target that has been knocked up, in this case by Crastiel. Makes it even easier to find that first kill, which when you're looking at a Viego composition, again, makes your team fighting even easier because if this champion gets a reset, it can change the course of an entire fight.
Look at how confident Crastiel is right now, stepping up to AC, engaging onto AC. Kick does grab Grell and putting right into the middle of the team. Re-add onto the Sonic Wave, doesn't follow it up. AC almost got that kill, almost pulled out the 1-for-1, which would have been a winning fight for Liberty.
And well played from AC's there to not listen to the Inarudu demons that are telling him to go in and instantly die, because he would have gone down before he even landed on the Q, right? Steps is there waiting with an auto-attack. Crastiel has cooldowns ready to go by that point as well. So it's, again, the presence of mind knowing, as much as there is a Viego with 100 HP and my Q's already landed, I actually can't find this kill, and even if I can, it's not worth it to give them more gold and extend that lead potentially even further. So
you gotta save that energy for the dragon fight.
That's true. I gotta save the int for the Drake. That's true.
We'll see how it works out up towards the top side. Guigo actually looking confident right now as he does step up and get instantly shut down with the CC of the Meganar. A well-timed pick can turn into a lot more with 14 seconds on this dragon spawn. AC is starting to dip into the jungle, move his way down towards the southern end of the rift, where Liberty are going to have to fight again.
I think it's going to be a 4v5 if Vivo Keystars want to take this. Obviously, with Guigo being down, they're just doing a really good job actually right here. They're not even entertaining the notion of a dragon. Guigo has got TP.
Engage does land onto Grell, who Heartbreaker's out, so no execute on the Viego for right now. Lacking a little bit of damage. Grefthar is also forced to flash away. Disengage from Vivo Keen is good so far, but the health bars are so low. How is Vivo Keen the one kiting? How is Guigo already in the backline? The teleport in has dismantled Liberty, and the support Ashe on the flank is not where she wanted to end up. Vivo Keen take another fight against all odds, Rudude. That was the engage from Liberty.
Oh, and it shows how far behind Liberty are. I was seeing Cavallo free hitting, and then I remember it's a support Ashe, not your ADC Ashe, doing negative damage with those arrows. Just absolutely traumatized as he's firing out these supposed DPS checks and absolutely whiffing on them just because he's got nothing to give as this support role. Get another look at it as well, because Liberty, they find this great timing, right? They have a 5 versus 4 in their advantage. They get a great knockback onto Grell. Steps is really caught in limbo right here, and Grethar again shoved back into limbo by that Lee Sin kick. But as soon as they go just this step too far forward, past this choke where those double control wards are, then Gigo can turn the tides of the fight because he splits Piloto and Juliera up, creates this space for the rest of his team, and yes, we do end up seeing the Varus fall. But Steps will not care because they got the Dragon and an extra 3 kills on top of his own death.
That was a sick flash from Steps as well, avoiding the Meganar. What could have been a big turning point in that fight drags Liberty a little further in, and we just keep on going with the Zeri that we saw yesterday as well. Steps is so good with his positioning. Again, dodging another arrow that just gets sent out. Cavallo going fishing for these engages that just aren't quite landing onto the AD carry, the target that Liberty need.
Unfortunately forgot the bait for the trip so far anyway. Has landed a couple rogue ones, but nothing quite substantial enough to have obviously turned a fight in their favour. Obviously, go on.
You know what I noticed last fight as well? You know how Grell got caught by that arrow?
Uh-huh.
He was trying to dodge it.
No, he was trying to block it. He was trying to block it for his AD carry.
Okay. I was 100% sure he was trying to dodge past Steps, and I was like, man, what a scummy move.
No. You're definitely right, by the way. I don't want to gaslight you. That's 100% what happened. It just didn't quite work out.
Yeah, okay.
He just didn't quite have the space for it, but Vivo Keystars, they've got the space to try and take this Baron. Grethvar can run anchor.
Hey! He hit Steps! That was it! That was the arrow! And it was, unfortunately, many thousands of units away! Now Vivo Keen turn around with their wallets and go slap. We've already taken this fight well and enough. Heartbreaker onto Juliera, who is alone. Gonna get a reset on this Viego, but not gonna be able to make it out. Giga Chad plays do take Giga Chad punishes.
That's true, but it's always that feels bad moment when you realise that ADC is actually a useless role because you stole their body and all of a sudden you're not a bruiser with 2,500 HP that can survive everything.
That's the bait. That's what...
that is the bait. Oh yeah, getting the Civic gets me health. Oh wait, I'm already instantly dead.
Yeah, did not look fun for Grell, but he had plenty of it going in. 2.5 thousand units of fun were had by Grell in that fight, and when Chiari is the one doing the most damage, it says a lot for the Liberty roster, especially when they're trying to enter through the river onto a Baron that is already started.
It says that Juliera doesn't have the items yet, fundamentally, and doesn't have the ability to dish out the damage at this stage. You know, that space from the front line really hasn't been bought. AC is going down, and again, just the grouping of Liberty just isn't there. They need to recognise that at this juncture, they have to match the space, right? They have to match this really tight-knit death ball style of play that Vivo Keystars are adapting to. And if they don't do that, then Piloto's not going to get a chance to deal DPS, the same for Juliera. It's a little bit difficult for them, and now they're starting to adapt, right? We've got this 5-person push clearing out vision in their own jungle. It's the first building blocks on how to come back into this game, but it's by no means the be-all and end-all, because they're so far behind already. If they'd have done this from the beginning, then obviously there's a chance, but they've now got so much more work to do to claw their way back.
I have to agree. And at this point, income is the thing that Liberty need, and even by grouping up at as five, they're missing out on at least some of that split between their members, because it's either Juliera or Piloto that's farming the minion waves, that's farming the jungle camps as they go through. Chiari's actually getting a lot of gold in his just fight against Guigo towards the bot side, but we'll see it'll come to a head as we've got just a few seconds left. Infernal Drake, Infernal Soul, available for Vivo Keyed at the same time as Baron is alive.
So Juliera did finish Navori Quick Blades. That 2-item spike comes through, so there's a little extra damage, and of course, the higher uptime on your W and the spell shield as well for Juliera. Not really going to be too much of a difference made if there's flanks well found by Vivo Keyed stars, but so far they're all well grouped up. Crastial has to go right through that front door. And Liberty, they're sticking to this 5-man core, making sure that they head around together. Chiari's not really Meganar just yet, and this wall could be the separating feature.
This is a good way to start things off. It keeps Vivo Keyed from being able to engage effectively, but as soon as the wall disappears, there he goes. Crastiel finds the engage, Steps picks up the first kill, and it's on to the jungler. Grell instantly on the disengage as Chiari goes Mega, knowing the threat that Liberty pose, and as the dragon continues to be leashed by Liberty, Grell's got to find a way back into this pit, a way back without the Heartbreaker. Chiari goes forward with the Meganar, the last ticks of it, slams all of Vivo Keyed into the wall and goes down for it. Now on the front foot, it's Grell in Nar's body, and that is not a sight you want to see. Out he goes, takes out Piloto as well, and it's Vivo Keyed's dragon. It's Vivo Keyed's game.
If they weren't 9,000 gold down, dear, Liberty may well have taken that fight, but they just don't have the damage. Chiari comes up huge with a 3-man Meganar into the wall, but it just doesn't matter. They all survive. They all manage to turn and fight. And now with the Infernal Soul at their back, 20 seconds on the carries from Liberty respawning, Baron is a formality, and Vivo Keyed stars should take this game.
AC waiting on his entrance in, sees that teleport as the arrow sails by. A Baron steal is Liberty's only hope, and it is so far away. 4k left on the Baron. AC goes in early, does get a really nice kick on Grell, and we might see a fight right now as out goes the barrel. AC re-enters the pit, steals the Baron, and keeps Liberty alive!
I don't know how much this matters, dear. They are still so far down, but that is not just a massive stall on the game, but a large injection of cash as well. Every single member of Liberty just got 300 gold. Vivo Keyed stars just lost out on that gold. They lost out on their ability to end the game. And every single time we say Vivo Keyed stars are in a great position, just these one small things go awry, and AC's he's 0-7-2 on the lease in. It's not a pretty scoreline, but he stole the Baron, and that's all that he'll be remembered for if they win this game.
Incredible. And like we said, it's the last thing. It's the only thing that Liberty really have. And when your jungler can come up clutch like that, you leave the game feeling pretty darn good. Liberty do still have a ways to fight, as you've illustrated. The gold gap immense, but for the next 2 minutes, as long as this Baron buff lasts, their base will not be broken, and it keeps them alive and collecting gold for much longer than Vivo Keyed had bargained for.
Yeah, the typical tendencies of a Baron are that you take turrets with it. Now, Liberty are not in this position. Liberty have just got a lifeline Baron that extends their stay in the game, their duration that they can exist on Summoner's Rift for an extra 5 minutes. The issue, and this is like a 50-50 issue right now, is that Elder is spawning in 3.5 minutes. That's likely going to be the next area that we see a fight happen. The reason I say it's a 50-50 issue is because if ACs does that again, all of a sudden the gold lead doesn't matter as much. It still matters because there is that window and that slight amount of gold where even Elder doesn't matter. But I don't know that Liberty are quite that far behind.
I hope not. That would be a unfun amount of gold to be behind. For the moment, it looks like they're actually catching up, and it's not just economically, but in the power spikes that you talked about. Earlier, we looked at a team fight and went, Juliera doesn't have the items. Like you said, he grabbed a Navori Quick Blades just a few minutes ago, but is on the cusp of being able to pick up an even bigger power spike. That'll mean that, Liberty have a fighting chance. Grell does a lot of damage.
Grell also takes a lot of damage with this build, especially up against Chiari with a great space back there. Just misses out, or dodges out rather, on that Gragas cask. And of course, they're not overcommitting onto Grell there, knows that he's still got Heartbreaker, whether they're tracking Flash Timer or not, but that is also available for the Vivo Keystars jungler, so they know they can't get too over-aggressive. I mean, I'm looking at the player cams in the bottom right now. Vivo Keystars, they're still decidedly happy with where they are in this game. I think that they know that it's, still very much won, so long as they don't make any more of those massive fumbles. So as long as they can keep their stay in this game, as we've seen, this far ahead, hoping at the very least that with this Elder coming up, they can swiftly dispatch of it and swiftly dispatch of Liberty soon after.
The Gui God, by the way, almost level 18. He is so close. And on this Gwen, hasn't really had that raid boss performance that we normally associate with Guigo, but has been stalwart in the top lane, continuing to push these waves into Liberty, force them to respond, and well...
Oh, that's the wrong side of the wrong side of the base, Grell.
That might be the beginning of base crack.
Let's see, because Sivir is their wave clear bot as well. Fortunately, they have a spare one in the mid lane. I think Piloto will have to defend this bot tier 3, and they'll have to sacrifice this tier 2 in the mid lane. So the turret that Vivo Keystars have been sort of stuck at for the last, feels like 20 minutes, even though it's less than that, finally falls, and you're quite right, dear. They're going for more.
Going to be able to pick up at least the inhibitor tower, if not the inhib. We've got 15 seconds left on Sivir. So forward they go. Nice bump, and into the bouncy castle goes AC, unable to fight back. Inhib is going to get taken, and Vivo Key get what they came for, backing off onto the bigger objective that you teased 5 minutes ago, Rudu, that Vivo Key have had their eyes on. We've got a minute left until the Elder Dragon, and they are taking all of this time to back up, to set up for what is a game-ending objective.
Fortunately, AC's dies just 20 seconds in time. If he'd have died 20 seconds later, Vivo Keystars are taking the Elder without contest, without the burden of an extra smite that could potentially steal it away. They're now in a position where they're going to have to, once again, do their due diligence, except this time actually do it, and make sure that they don't lose out on a smite.
He's just going to kill somebody. He might kill 2 people.
He might kill them all, yeah.
Yeah. For real, for real. Grevthar's here as well, so Guigo going to start off, forcing those cooldowns out and disengage. As Liberty actually play that pretty safe, choosing not to jump onto the Gwen, paying respect to Vivo Keystars, but continuing to push this. They've got data now. Now they've been flanked. It's a big engage from Grevthar as out goes the cask, pushing Liberty against the wall and letting Guigo jump on forward. Nobody from the Liberty roster will fall. We've got a teleport to join them, but AC's health bar is so low, and the Elder Dragon has just spawned.
Remember, they've got Infernal Soul as well, so a ton of damage comes through from Steps. For a re-engage.
Steps goes golden, trying to save himself for the moment, but it's opening things up for AC, who gets engaged on again, gets shut down by Grell, and now a numbers advantage. Now your jungler down. Liberty can do nothing against Vivo Keed or this Elder Dragon.
I've seen this play before, dear. I wouldn't count your chickens just before they've hatched. Chiari still has ulti. That Mega Knight is about to run out, though. I think Liberty have signed their own death warrant. Their ACs isn't here, and I think they know that they've got to bounce. Vivo Keystars, they're looking aggressively to try and turn. They're not going to find it, but they do obviously find the Elder. They also are going to look toward this Baron. Take this while ACs is dead as well. You don't need to reset for your items. You're already way too far ahead to make that worthwhile. Crastial, he gets a pass. He was 400 HP as an Alistair. That's allowed recall timings. And honestly, the rest of the team don't even need him to take this Baron. It is a formality once again, with 2 people from Liberty split pushing in the bot lane.
So comfortable now. I'm looking at all of the advantages that are stacked in the favor of Vivo Keed, and this game is over. There's no way that I see Liberty coming back, and it's not to say that it's not possible. It certainly is. All things are possible in Brazilian League of Legends, but is it improbable? Oh yeah, very much so. Teleport into the bot lane from Guigo. He's just here to stall the recalls of 2 members, but he might take one of them with him. As there goes a lot of needlework that's all gone wide. There it is. There it is.
I was waiting for it. That third ult just got a one-shot right there, and Cavallo was going to happily sacrifice his life if it means Chiari gets back to base. A much more formidable talent on display for the Liberty roster. And they do have a little window where Gigo won't be here, but of course they're still having to take this as a 4 versus 4 against an Elder. Never going to be easy. And we've seen ACs time and time again just look for engages, is never able to find it. I don't see why this is going to be any different.
Can't access the backline now, and with the super minions knocking on you as well, Juliera has to just run, leaving his jungler for dead. Liberty are still getting engaged on. Grell is trying to one-shot someone and can't quite do it. Doesn't pull the stopwatch in time. Crestiel re-engages, opening things up for Steps, who gets CC'd. Guigo takes to the front line, but Vivo keyed. Just have to focus on one thing. Just have to take down the Nexus to take the game against Liberty.
Oh, they had me for a little bit there. I thought Juliera could have gone huge, but you were absolutely right, dear. As soon as they focused that Nexus, it is not even close. A swift dispatching there from Vivo keyed stars. They had a little bit of a moment in the mid-game where they failed to correctly assess where Aces was and stop him from getting into the pit around that Baron. But overall, despite that one mid-game fumble, they were able to find